I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Folks, this is the Friday show, and this woman's been on the show at least 3 other times. As a matter of fact, I was doing some work on my new documentary that's going to come out probably at the end of this year or the first of 2024. It's scary to say, but she's going to be in that documentary. And we started chit-chatting, and she told me she had the 3rd edition of her book coming out. And I was like, whoa, hang on. You can't do that without coming on my show. So, folks, she's back by popular demand. Well, actually, because I demanded it. Mary Newport, yeah.
Hi, Vinny. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Pumpkin. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Mary, I don't do well. I started doing these things on YouTube where I put up these real pointed videos. About every 2 weeks, I put up another one, anywhere from 10 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes long, where I'm just giving specific information. And those are starting to take off. My podcast interviews, for whatever reason, just never took off on YouTube the way they have on the audio side of the thing, except for one.
Yeah.
There's one with big numbers.
Huh.
Exactly one. And that would be your thing. I called it Your Brain on Coconut Oil. And everyone loved it. Loved it more. Usually we get a few hundred people listening on YouTube. I think that one got a few tens of thousands, like maybe 20 or 30. I could go look it up, but I don't have time right now. But people love when you're on. So thank you for continuing to come back on.
And you're welcome. Yeah.
So keep writing additions to your book so that, you'll come back.
Yeah. This isn't my last book. I have at least 3 or 4 in mind, but I can only write one at a time. So
I don't, I've written a couple of books and they've done well. And I just hate people say, why don't you write more? It's like, well, it's like homework for me. And to sit there long enough, and I write them longhand, which nobody does anymore.
You do? Longhand? You can actually dictate now on Microsoft Word. That's even easier than handwriting.
No. It's not about the easy. Whenever I try to talk it into, I've tried all these dictation things. I've tried all this stuff. My mind doesn't work the same as when I put pen to paper.
Oh, yeah, true.
You see, I can't type fast enough because I'm a pecker.
Yeah.
So I can't type fast enough to, and I have to think when I'm typing. But I literally use, and I've talked to people who are bored of hearing this, I use fountain pens, old-fashioned fountain pens.
Wow.
I have a desk full of them over here. Here's another one from a German company. All of my friends, my friends joke that I'm one step away from a quill.
Yeah. I have a lot of these on my table. Little Post-its with ideas of what I want to write next. Outlines.
Reams of paper.
Yes.
And look, you want to see how bored I get? You want to see how much of a nerd I was doing this just a little while ago. Can you read what this says?
Not too well.
It says Pythagoras, and I was showing. While I was talking to someone on the phone, I was showing the Pythagorean theorem to myself to remind myself of the Pythagoras. Don't ask me why.
I haven't thought of that for a long time.
Right.
Probably decades.
2 sides of equals up one side of
Yeah.
But I'm that nerd that I will sit there and draw up angles and that's what Pythagoras decided, and he had a whole theory about. That's all I do. So here's what was on my mind last night. I was watching Monday Night Football. Very good game, by the way. This podcast is coming out in a few weeks, folks. It was the opening day for Monday Night Football. It was on 9/11, very historical date.
Yeah.
In our country's history. We were attacked on our own land. Hadn't happened since Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And very, very interesting day. Monday Night Football was the Jets with their brand new quarterback,
Mm.
Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
9/11, Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of a losing organization. Man, the whole country is pulling for the New York team to win, right?
Yeah.
They get someone from the fire department to sing the national anthem. I mean, I was getting a little choked up at the beginning of the game. It,
Yeah.
it was electric.
Yeah.
It was electric. And their brand new, freshly minted quarterback from Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, comes in, and on the fourth play of the game, he's hurt and he's out of the game.
Oh no.
And what happened after that? You could not make movies as good as what happened. They
Yeah.
ended up with their second string quarterback, who was a starter last year, who ended up in a tie in regular over, and they went into overtime. Of course, the other team, the Bills, got the ball first.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had scored, the game would have been over with. They didn't score. The defense held them. They punted the ball, and a rookie took it back for 6.
Oh.
You couldn't, if you put that in a movie, you would go, this is too fantastical. This is too
Yeah.
for a movie.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's
Well,
why
now you need to make another documentary about that or something.
I don't make those kind of documentaries.
Oh,
I'm sure
okay.
ESPN will figure that. 30 for 30, they'll do that. But here's the deal. I was watching Monday Night Football, and I also watched some Sunday games, which means for the first time since probably the Super Bowl back in February, I'm watching live TV. I don't watch live TV, Mary.
Oh.
I don't. I watch, commercial free stuff. Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
Netflix, what have you.
Yeah.
Commercial free.
Yeah.
So for the first time all year, I'm seeing commercials again.
Oh.
And most of the commercials, it's football, so it's beer.
Oh yeah. True.
And there's your DraftKings. They want you to bet. Now betting is legal. But there's a third type of commercial. Drug companies.
Oh, they're on all day. They're on all day.
But you see,
Can't get away from them if you're watching live TV. Mm.
now I'm watching live TV again. So I'm watching drug ads.
Yeah.
And boy, is it bothering me. It's
Yeah.
bothering me in a way you couldn't even imagine. Because at the end of every commercial, before the guy comes on and tells you all the ways you can die from the drug,
Yeah.
what do they tell you, Mary? Do you know what they say? Every single one of them says the same thing.
Well, one of them says, ask your doctor about this.
Ask your doctor if this drug is right for you.
Yeah.
See,
Well, and then they have people with smiling faces and the most beautiful music behind the discussion about how you could die if you take this and all the other serious side effects that you can have. So they're kind of banking that you're going to listen to the music and watch the smiling faces and not hear the really bad stuff about the drug.
oh, they remember the song "It's Magic" from the '70s? They turned it into the Ozempic song.
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah.
But at the end, ask your doctor. Ask Mary Newport.
Always. Yeah.
If this drug is right for you. And Mary, they're if you have anything. I saw one not this weekend, but I've seen it. You have rosacea. Now, rosacea is not going to kill anyone, right?
Yeah.
Rosacea is just, you have rosacea.
Mm-hmm.
You want those pink cheeks to go away?
Right.
Your pink cheeks, you want that? Take this drug. Now, you might die.
You might die.
You might die, but you won't have those ruby cheeks anymore.
Not at your funeral, you'll look good at your funeral.
It drives me nuts. It's like, there's a drug for everything. For rosacea.
Yeah.
Rosacea is not a problem.
No.
You can't die from it.
No. Unless you take a drug for it.
Then you can die.
Yeah. I know. It's amazing. And it boggles my mind. I mean, they have these humongous profits and they charge so much for these medications, but they spend billions of dollars on advertising all day long. And the people that take the drugs have to pay for it, and or the insurance companies when they do pay for it.
But here's the one commercial I never see, ever. CGM devices, constant glucose monitors. Why is there not a commercial saying, hey, you don't have to take Ozempic, you don't have to take Wegovy, you don't have to take metformin. All of that can go if you ask your doctor you a CGM device for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Because once you see it, look, here you go, CGM companies. I'm going to give you the ad. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Right? Wouldn't that be the perfect ad?
Yes.
You show the person with the thing on their tricep, the CGM device, and they're looking at their phone. They just ate a muffin and they see that their sugar went up to 180. And then you hold that up and you go, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
Right. Come on. I did that commercial for you.
It's a perfect way for people to figure out what they're doing wrong with their diet. I mean, a perfect way.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible tool. And they're making one, there's some that should be coming out soon that are ketones and glucose in the same monitor. So that'll be really cool. And like people that are on a ketogenic diet, are trying to be so that they can see what's really happening, and they can see, what happens when they eat something that has too much carbohydrate and how their blood sugar goes up and their ketones go down, So I think those are just amazing. They're amazing.
But my question is, why isn't every insurance company handing these out for free? Making it free to the customer. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. The insurance companies can drive the price down of these devices down to zero by buying them up and handing them to everyone that they have on insurance.
Yeah.
This solve a big problem.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Am I crazy here, Mary? You see, I'm on a rant. I'm ranting here because I go nuts.
I think you're right on. I think you're spot on.
Yeah. Look, we need to start a campaign, CGM. Hire me to be your spokesperson, and I'll television, the football games, have you. What else? I'll go on The Bachelor, commercials, the whole thing. And I'll tell them, CGM.
Yeah.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
But come on, Anthem Blue Cross, Optima. Come on. Jump on board. Who else, Mary? You're a doctor. What's the big insurance companies out there? Give me a third.
Blue Cross, Aetna, Humana.
Aetna, come on. Humana. Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Medicare,
Medicaid.
And Medicaid.
Come on, Joe Biden. Get Medicaid. You're the president. Get everybody on board.
Yeah. Give everybody a free. I mean, a lot of people would be shocked that they don't know they have diabetes.
Oh, wait. Who was it that said a chicken in every pot?
Sorry.
Who was the president that ran chicken in every pot?
Probably before the 1950s, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
I got to find out, Mary.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sounds good.
Okay. Herbert Hoover. See how quick I am?
Yeah, that's excellent.
Opponent to promise a chicken. No, this was an advertisement that caused Herbert Hoover's opponents to state he had promised the voters a chicken. Yeah, it was Herbert Hoover.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever's running for president, one of you guys, because we have an election coming up next year.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's on the right. I don't care if it's on the left, what have you. It needs to be a CGM on every tricep.
Right.
We can, look, I'm not joking.
No.
This is a device that can change what's going on right now. Right now, we're going, oh, you get on the airlines, you got to start weighing yourself. There are airlines, there's a second airline I heard today that needs to start weighing people. This is not to embarrass people. This is because airplanes are now too heavy.
Yeah, they need to know
They need to know the
how
weight.
much weight they're trying to lift off the ground and make sure they have enough fuel to carry that weight.
So now they're going to have to start weighing people again.
My gosh.
Not again, like another airline. There was one. Now we're on the second one. Before long, everyone's going to have to step on the scale before they get on the plane, because
Riot.
we didn't design planes to do this.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I wrote about this in my book. My book came out 12 years ago. They had to, at the original Disneyland over in California, they had to redredge the Small World ride, because when they made the thing in the 1950s, the average weight of people were one thing. These boats with the weight of people today were bottoming out, and it was constantly stuck. So they had to stop the ride. They had to dredge it out and make it deeper to accommodate the bigger American.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is not progress. And you would say, oh, come on, Vin, what's what? People can't go to small. No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you got to start dredging out the Small World ride, and you got to start weighing people to get an aircraft, or the aircraft might crash, you might think we have a problem.
Yeah.
And problem number one in this country is healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
It's not problem number 7 or 10. You know, we're too busy with Greta Thunberg yelling about how dare you. We need to get Greta to start yelling, come on, get everyone a CGM machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need, Mary.
I think it's a great idea. I mean,
No. Hang on. Every night for dinner is a great idea. This is an incredible idea.
Oh, yeah, incredible. It is. Well, the statistics I've seen is that by age 75, and that's the age group that I've been really focusing on, 3/4 of people are either diabetic or pre-diabetic by age 75. I mean, that's astounding. And even, I mean, when I was, when I went to medical school, type 1 diabetes was called juvenile diabetes, and type 2 was called adult onset diabetes. But now it's very common for young children, 9, 10 years old, to have what used to be adult onset diabetes. And even preschool children, can be obese and extremely obese. We never used to see that. I mean, that was incredibly rare. And now it's common to see that. And, an awful lot of those kids are on the WIC program, SNAP. They get school lunches, and they all have to these programs go by the dietary guidelines for Americans, which are under revision at the moment. They revise them every 5 years. And it's all low fat. It's, basically the My Plate for children is the same as the My Plate for adults, but it shows, basically half of the plate, some type of, vegetables, but they show grains on the plate. They show protein. They have a cup of milk or a glass of milk next to the plate, but it's fat-free or non-fat milk. Where on the plate is the fat? There's no fat at all. And they tell, to eat lean meat. And even for very, very young children, this is, they abruptly go from breast milk, which is 50% fat. Infant formulas try to mimic breast milk. They can't even come close, but they're almost 50% fat too. And then abruptly at age 2, these dietary guidelines say that children should start eating fat-free and low-fat milk. That didn't even exist until maybe 100 years ago, that you could even get skim milk. And it just doesn't make sense. And so if you're going to greatly reduce the fat, I mean, there's no fat on that plate, even for children. If you're going to so drastically cut the fat, it's going to be carbohydrate that they're eating. They're going to be eating more and more carbohydrate and sugar. And not too long ago, it was really related to the dietary guidelines for Americans. I put together some public comments. You're allowed to comment. And so I put together this kind of lengthy thing. But I went to my grocery store, the infant aisle, and I was taking photos, and it was even worse than I thought. There was so much sugar in the baby foods, the junior foods, And they even have what they call snack for baby.
Oh,
What
God.
baby needs a snack? Babies
I
don't
don't
need a
even know what a
snack.
snack is. I mean, they
Yeah,
should be on the teat. This is the crazy thing. We know that formulas are bad now.
yeah,
Every mom has a set of tits.
right.
Stick the baby on the teat.
Yeah,
How tough is that?
yeah.
You want to be a mom, and I get it. You work, mommy's working. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get crap for this.
Yeah, I breastfed and I was working as a physician.
They have pumps now. I know this. All of my
Yeah,
clients had pumps. I would
yeah.
have to sit there and wait for them to pump, so
You
they
can
could.
do both at the same time with the pumps they have these days.
Oh yeah, you could just pump
Yeah,
away. I
yeah.
get it. I get it. You're a busy mom. We burned bras and everything in the '70s. Everyone went to work. It's great.
Yeah, I burned
Wonderful.
mine.
You know, but you understand what I'm talking about, Mary. It's like,
Yeah,
and by the way, I'm going to get more shit for this episode than you can get. I
yeah,
get it. There are some women out there with problems, and we
yeah,
can actually talk about that. Some women
yeah.
can't produce milk.
Right.
I am not talking
Yeah,
to you.
right.
I am not talking. Am I being very clear? I get that. Some
Mhm.
women can't produce milk. I feel bad for you. I
Mhm.
understand the situation. As a matter of fact, Mary, as a doctor, let me ask
Yeah,
you, they could get surrogate milk, right? For these,
yeah, yeah. I did newborn intensive care for 30 years. So this was a
you're
constant
the
topic
perfect person to ask.
every day. And I mean, and some of the women who delivered very prematurely, I mean, their milk didn't come in. I mean, but many of them did, and they worked hard at it. But they even have, women are now donating milk to get that is then homogenized or whatever, but made such that it can be given to these premature newborns that whose mothers can't breastfeed instead of infant formula. And it's probably not the most ideal. It'd be the best thing if they could get it from their own mother, but there are so many other nutrients in breast milk that just aren't in infant formulas. To me, it's like the ultimate ultra processed food, infant formula. I mean, it has soybean oil in it. It has corn, basically corn syrup type sugars, synthetic vitamins, and choline is very important. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's in eggs and it's in certain mostly animal foods, but in nuts and that type of thing. But it's a synthetic form of it. It doesn't even become very elevated in the blood in a newborn. They've tested this, compared to natural choline. And the vitamins, they're not in the natural forms. They're synthetic, a lot of the vitamins that are added, and the minerals too. And when they sit in a can that's powdered, these minerals, they oxidize over time too. So the longer you store an infant formula that's powdered, the more oxidized it's going to get, and it's going to damage the cholesterol and the minerals and the other things that are in it too. So, I mean, if a woman can breastfeed, the very best thing she can do for her baby is to breastfeed.
Okay, so Mary, you worked with children and newborns for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is my own information. I don't have any other. I'm just interested. It's kind of like
Yeah.
with Pythagoras. I'm just interested. What's the percentage of mothers that have trouble breastfeeding? And I'm not going to hold you to this number, but if you
Mhm.
were guesstimating,
Mhm.
where are
Well,
we?
I think it's something like 60% are able to breastfeed for the first 6 months, something like that. A lot higher percent begin breastfeeding, but a lot of women get discouraged very early on because the milk doesn't come in right away. There's a little bit of colostrum. It's like drops of milk the first few days.
Right.
And a lot of women are worried that their baby's going to starve. Nurses sometimes, some nurses that I know have a bad habit of, oh, the baby's not getting enough milk on the breast, and they'll start formula feeding them,
Mm,
which really interferes with the breastfeeding. But, and a skinny premature baby, doesn't have, I mean, they need additional help, but a nice full-term baby is fat. Human babies are fat.
yeah.
And they basically go into ketosis within 8 or 10 or 12 hours of being born, and they live off their fat. They get medium chain triglycerides in breast milk, which are also converted to ketones, so their fat is partly converted to ketones. The fatty acids from their fat can take care of their other organs. The brain needs ketones. The fats don't cross the brain very well, but the newborn goes into ketosis, and the fat that they have helps tide them over as the milk is coming in. And, so it can take a week or 10 days to really get the milk fully established, but a healthy full-term baby has plenty of fat to help them get through this. So a lot of women get discouraged because they feel like because the milk's not coming in, they somehow don't know that. They haven't really been taught that, patience, and that they need to drink plenty of fluids. If they drink extra protein, it will help it come in. And the pregnant mother is in ketosis, and the lactating mother, breastfeeding mother is in ketosis, naturally in ketosis. So in that way, they're also providing ketones to the baby. So the baby will get through, and it just is a matter of patience. I breastfed both of my babies, and the first one, your nipples get sore, there's things you can do about that. But they toughen up if you just hang in there. And then it's really a breeze after that. You don't have to buy formula. You can feed the baby wherever you are at any time. And I don't know. I love breastfeeding. It was really great. And I was working full time, and I did pump, and my husband would feed them the breast milk at home. He actually, with my first baby, he brought her to the hospital at lunch and at dinner. He would actually bring her. He stayed home with our kids, my husband, Steve, and he, would bring them so I could breastfeed them, which was just amazing. And so he was a great guy. He was a great guy. But every baby should, get the opportunity to breastfeed, if at all possible.
Yeah, and I get it, folks. I want to be very clear. I get it. Some women can't.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways around that.
It's true. Some just
these ways.
Yeah.
Just do the best you can out there, but breastfeeding is the way to go if you can do it.
Yeah.
Mary mentioned Steve. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about Steve several times on this podcast.
Right.
The reason for your book. Now the third edition of that book.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that in just a second, but first I have to tell everyone about Villa Capelli olive oil. Folks, Villa Capelli, we were just talking about being in ketosis, and fruit juice is no way to get into ketosis. Fruit juice is 100% sugar, except for one fruit, the olive. The olive produces a fruit called olive oil. And olive oil is very healthy for you because it's a fat. It's not a carbohydrate.
Right.
It's going to offer you something. Now, here's the deal. You heard Mary when she was talking about formula. See, Mary, she doesn't realize I really listen when she talks. She mentioned seed oils in those formulas. And in the United States, you can cut olive oil up to 40% and still call it 100% pure olive oil. I know, right? How did they get away with that?
That happens with a lot of oils that people just don't realize it.
Yeah. But Mary, there's one way to get around that. Villa Capelli olive oil, the longest running sponsor of this show, Villa Capelli. Now listen, real olive oil is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. So what you want to do is when you get to checkout, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, you'll get 10% off. 10% off, get the 3-liter 10. As a matter of fact, if you spend over $125 after the discount, you'll also get free shipping. So here's the deal. Get yourself a 3-liter 10 that's close to $100 that's going to last you well over a year. I don't think you understand how inexpensive that is for 3 liters of real olive oil from Italy. That's number one. Number two, buy some of the herbs and everything else they have. Get it to about $145. You get 10% chopped off. You're still above $125. Bada bing, bada boom, free shipping. You save twice.
Yeah.
Go to Capelli olive oil. Let them know we sent you. Promo code Vinnie, VINNIE. Don't put a wimpy Y or you won't get your discount. VINNIE. Villa Capelli olive oil. I use them over here. Use them wherever you are. You're going to love the stuff. We're talking to the woman who wrote a fabulous book. It's in its third edition. Oh, Mary, what's your book called?
There it is. It's called Alzheimer's Disease. What if there was a cure? The Story of Ketones. And yeah, it's the third edition. The first edition came out in 2011 and the second in 2013. So this is a 10-year gap. And so there was a whole lot of updating. So it got real thick. It got real thick.
So it's getting thicker and
it's
thicker.
Packed with information.
What are we learning from the first book? What have we learned since then, and why? You're in the third edition. You're not doing that just to go try to get people to buy a book. That book is about an inch thick now. Mm-hmm. So what have you added to it from the first book? What will we learn by getting this book?
Yeah, well, I was really grateful to the publisher to giving me the opportunity to finish my husband's story. So much had happened since that second edition. And my husband did pass away, from Alzheimer's, and that whole story is in there. But he basically got a 4-year reprieve from Alzheimer's, where he was doing much better than the year before, thanks to coconut oil and medium chain triglyceride oil. And then he was the first person with Alzheimer's to get a ketone ester from the NIH. But we continued, the coconut oil and MCT oil, and the ketone ester turned him around very dramatically at that point. It was about 2 years after we started the coconut oil, and he went another 20 months, before he had a big setback. And his unfortunate big setback, and this is common in the later stages of Alzheimer's, he had a seizure. He was standing and he fell straight back and he had a seizure. It lasted for 20 minutes. He stopped breathing and had another seizure on the way to the hospital. And he became completely dependent after that. So I did lose him to Alzheimer's disease. And, so it's a sad story, but I try to, part of what I do with the book is it's, caregivers, they don't know what's coming. A lot of people, they're not told, there's no training. You have a husband or a parent that has dementia. People don't take the time, the doctors, the providers, to tell you what is going to happen and how it's going to unfold. And so that's part of why I continue to tell this story. And, for example, we decided to do hospice care. We decided to take care of Steve at home to the very end. And the people that do hospice are just incredible. And, to me, it was just so much better than being in the hospital at the end of life and everything they do, draining all of your finances for one thing, when a situation is hopeless. And, so I have a lot of information about that, so there's a whole lot of information for caregivers, really, to kind of let them read about how it's going to unfold so that they're prepared. I mean, so I've heard of people with Alzheimer's and dementias, will sometimes start wandering. They'll just bolt out of the house one day for the first time ever and get into trouble. They get lost. I had, I did hospice for 3 years. I was so impressed by it that I ended up doing that as a physician. And a lady went out the back of her house and she got lost in the woods for 14 hours. Her family had no idea where she was. Another lady, she was in her late 50s with early onset Alzheimer's. She darted out of her house and ended up in the street and getting hit and killed by a car. This was in our area here. And, so tragic things like that can happen if you don't know and aren't prepared, for that. So, there's a lot of that kind of information too, that's kind of woven into Steve's story. And then that's probably the first 40% of the book. I have a whole lot of examples of people that have improved. I mean, dozens and dozens of examples. And I've collected little reports from people, 360 of them over 6 years between 2008 and 2014. And then there were so many, I kind of couldn't keep track anymore, but I kind of selected quite a few of them. And then some really important stories of several people that have had very long-term good results. A man who was 94, who 10 years, he was diagnosed 10 years earlier with Alzheimer's. And his wife started giving him coconut and MCT oil. and then thinking about what else she could do. And they started doing things like overnight fasting. He was a surfer. He was a surfer till he was 89, believe it or not. He was a
Wow.
swimmer when he was young. And so they kind of beefed up his exercise. They did overnight fasting, which puts you into ketosis. And they went to, they were already eating kind of a Mediterranean diet, but they really focused on that, making it very low glycemic, minimal grains, no extra sugar, all that type of thing. And he ended up living another 10 years without ever getting, worsening into Alzheimer's. He improved a whole lot. And then at the end of his life, his last two evaluations, his wife was told that he had mild cognitive impairment, which precedes Alzheimer's. So he never did deteriorate into Alzheimer's, which was incredible. And another man who with Parkinson's disease who had to retire in his late 50s. And he found first coconut oil, and then he started doing other ketogenic strategies. They're actually studying his protocol now. And he's been about 9 years that he improved so much that he's became very functional again. And they're going to, there's a big clinical trial that's going to go on using his protocol. That's a ketogenic type of protocol, healthy, low carb diet, ketogenic diet, and ketogenic oils and all that, exercise, overnight fasting. So people that kind of combine these strategies, I mean, they're really focused, and they schedule these things. They have had really good success. There was a lady that in Germany, her name's Helga Rohrer, that Steve and I met. I got to give a presentation at Alzheimer's Disease International in 2010 about coconut and MCT oil for Alzheimer's. And we met her and talked to her. She had just been diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, which is another terrible dementia. It's similar to Parkinson's, but it starts in a different part of the brain. And we told her about the coconut oil and everything, and she started doing that. And years later, she's still on Facebook. She communicates with me, but she added a ketogenic diet. She started doing some fasting, more exercise, meditation, and she's very social, and she writes and she talks. She does presentations about Lewy body and dementia, having dementia, and she's still very active. And this is 13 years later. It's incredible, So I have a number of stories like that that I think people will be very interested in. And so these are people that they were consistent and persistent with tackling these kind of strategies and changing their diet. They all changed their diet too. They got a healthier diet.
Yeah, God, you reminded me of two things. I looked up an old friend of mine, who was notable, so it was easy to Google this person. And it turned out, I was like, I wonder whatever happened to, you Google, and she was in media, so I knew, I would find out.
Yeah.
Her dad, who I knew very well, who had moved down to Florida and the whole thing. There was a big story about her dad who had dementia at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And he was missing for like 2 days. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, what that family must have gone through.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Yeah, he just walked out of the house and they found him like, I don't know where they found him. They found him like 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also thinking, an old girlfriend of mine, she was a little older than me.
Mm-hmm.
She got Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
She passed away. She passed away last year. Complications to Parkinson's, and
Yeah.
it was nothing I can tell her to say, hey, I know there's no science to this, there's no anything, but would you consider doing this? And it was, no, I'm taking these drugs. The doctors know best, and the whole thing. And all you could do is hope for your friend, the best outcome. Would it have helped? Would she have been around for another 5 years? I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that you can only tell people things, and then they can, I have the best doctors in Arizona, right, and I'm going to the da clinic, and I'm talking to blah blah blah, and no one's mentioning what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So then can't help you.
Right. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I mean, there's some family members, I'm in touch with them, and they'll write to me repeatedly, and they're not the primary caregiver for the person, and they might even live a few states away, and they want the family to do this, and they just cannot get them to do it, and they're so frustrated, and to at least try it. And the way I look at it, I mean, it's food. It's food. It's not a dangerous drug. It doesn't have terrible, dangerous side effects. And what do you have to lose by trying this? And then some people think it's like a miracle overnight cure. You take a few tablespoons of coconut oil, and they think that what I'm saying is that if you do that, you'll be cured.
Some kind of miracle, but
some kind of miracle, like a biblical miracle, but it's not that. And you have to really give it a good try. I mean, some people, like my husband, he had a pretty dramatic response. It was pretty obvious to me within 4 or 5 days that he was improving, and he steadily improved for almost a year. But he steadily improved for almost a year. That's the other thing. A lot of people, they'll start noticing improvement in their loved one, after a few weeks, a month or two. And sometimes it's very dramatic. The next person that wrote to me after I had written an article, and it kind of went viral, and then there was a newspaper article, and that got out. And so a lady from Connecticut wrote to me, and she told me that she started doing this with her mother, and her mother had Alzheimer's. She was in bed. She wasn't talking. She wasn't eating. She didn't recognize any of them. And she started giving her coconut oil. That's all she was giving her. And she said it was very slow. She just persistently gave it to her. And after a couple months, at the end of a couple months, she had gotten up out of bed. She started eating again. And she, one day she was sitting at the table reading the newspaper, which kind of blew her husband away. And not long after that, she got up, went to the refrigerator, and she asked for, where's that Pepperidge Farm cake that we bought yesterday? I mean, she starts having memories from the day before. And then 6 months later, she started crocheting again. And this was a lady that was in bed. She looked like she was in the last stages of Alzheimer's. And she recognized her family. She had a granddaughter that she adored, and she recognized her again. And she was in her 80s, and she ended up living several more years, and she passed away from pneumonia, but she still knew her family, and she was still interacting and with her family, instead of spending those last few years in a bed, not knowing anybody.
Mary, every time we do this show together, it almost sounds like we're doing an infomercial. But folks, Mary's not selling coconut oil or MCT oil or ketone ester. She's not selling anything.
Tell people about it.
Here, I have a new one that cropped up. A friend of mine came to me at the gym. He's not a close friend. He's an acquaintance I see at the gym. But he's a nice guy. He's in his 70s. And I go to a small gym, and everyone kind of we know each other, right? And we were chit-chatting, and he caught me alone, and he goes, "Hey, have you heard?" I was like, "No, what?" He goes, "No one told you?" Because I've been missing a lot because I've been traveling and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been working out at my gym at home. So I haven't been going to the outside gym as much. He goes, "Oh, no one told you?" I'm like, "No, what's going on?" He goes, "I have ALS."
Oh no.
I was fucking floored.
Yeah.
Because that one is, you're not getting out of that
No.
Your body fails you, and your brain is like brand new.
Still there. Yeah. To me, that's the most horrifying of all the neurodegenerative diseases, that can affect older people. That's the one when I first started learning about that, I thought that's the last thing I want to get. That's the last thing on earth I want to get, because you end up not being able to move at all. Every need needs to be taken care of, and yet your mind is there.
Yeah, 100%.
I just can't imagine a fate worse than that.
And this guy is physical, doesn't miss a day at the gym. And I remember he came to me like a month earlier, and he goes, Yeah, for some reason, I'm the guy everyone comes to at the,
Yeah.
and I'm not a
I
doctor.
don't know why.
He goes, "Hey, Vin, is it normal? Like I feel numbness in my legs and in my shins and the whole thing." I said, "Like numb to the touch?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "You don't look like a guy that has neuropathy or anything. The guy's as fit as a fiddle. Never
Yeah.
misses it at the gym. He's not fat."
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to give his name out." I said, "Let's call him John." I said, "John,
Okay.
if that continues for a few more days, schedule an appointment. Go see a doctor. That's not normal." So I was the guy that told him to go see a doctor
Mhm.
because I said, "Look, you don't have neuropathy. There's no way you have neuropathy. You have too much good circulation. You're eating right. You're doing everything right. You need to go see it if this continues." So he saw a doctor. Turns out
Mhm.
ALS.
Oh.
So there's nothing, right? I mean, there's nothing he can do. They think that he's a slow progressor, which is great,
Mhm.
which means he'll be here for a long time.
Mhm.
But there's nothing, right?
Well, there might be something. um, well, for one thing, he might want to look up the Deanna protocol. It's on winningthefight dot com or dot org. But it's a protocol that's aimed at
Hey,
improving the
whoa, 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 whoa.
mitochondria and
Go
improving
back.
energy. But coconut oil, let me tell you, can I tell you a story about coconut
So
oil?
first, I want you to give me what he should look up because I'm going to tell him.
Oh, okay. It's called the Deanna protocol,
Spell it.
and it's winning the fight dot, I think it's dot org. It might be dot com, but there's a protocol, and basically it's aimed at kind of increasing the cycle that creates ATP energy, that ketones drive that. And
Right.
there's for example, a supplement called alpha ketoglutarate that's part of that cycle. Deanna is she was in her mid-30s. She was an attorney, and she
How do you spell it? DIA?
DEANNA, I believe, Deanna protocol. There's one or two N's, I'm not sure. But if you look Deanna protocol for ALS, it should pop up there. Her father is an orthopedic surgeon, and he retired to try to spend his time researching how to help her. And they do things like power plate. She stands on a power plate or sits and puts her leg, those types of things. But it's a whole protocol. But it's all metabolically related, to try to overcome some of these problems that are happening with this disease. But aside from that, they use coconut oil to some degree. Some people do, some don't, and they massage it and that type of thing. But I had a man who contacted me. It was in late 2009, and he had read again in a newspaper article about my husband improving with coconut oil, and he had ALS. His mother had died from ALS, and he now had it, and he was several years into it. And he told me he waited a whole year to even contact me because he wanted to make sure this was real. And so he worked his way up to taking 9 tablespoons of coconut oil a day. And that sounds like a lot, but my husband was taking a combination of coconut and MCT oil, like 9 to 11 tablespoons a day. So, and that, there wasn't any other kind of help. There weren't even exogenous ketone supplements or ketone salts or ketone esters or anything like that yet. So he's taking coconut oil, and he started feeling better. He started improving, and he developed kind of a whole a set of measurements and around his thighs to measure, because you develop atrophy of the muscles. You're not using them, and they tend to atrophy, and so you lose muscle mass. So he started measuring around different parts of his like legs and arms and this type of thing, and his strength. He had ways that he was measuring strength, and he started documenting this every month. And at the end of the year, he had improved instead of getting worse. If you have ALS, it's the for the for most people with ALS, it's 3 to 5 years that you have left. That's it. So he improved enough that he But had pain in his knee. He had needed a knee replacement, but they thought, you have ALS, why bother doing a knee replacement? He couldn't walk or anything, but he was able to walk again, with the brace. And so they went ahead and did his knee replacement, which made him very happy, because he could get around again.
Right.
And I stayed in touch with him for at least 9 years. And I did lose contact a few years ago, but 9 whole years, which is well beyond the usual lifespan, for that problem. And he was still doing quite well. And he was helping other people. He was trying to teach other people about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and ALS and, to try to help them learn how to do this approach to it. So it was quite amazing.
I will, as soon as a matter of fact, I can't wait for this podcast to be over with now, because I want to write to my buddy and give him. I've already looked up Deanna Protocol. That's exactly, folks. All I put in to the Google machine was Deanna Protocol, and DeannaProtocol.com came up. Pretty excited here. It's I can't wait to go through the site and read about it. There's the story here, the science, the warriors, the reviews. There's an FAQ page. If you know anyone who's dealing with ALS, which, by the way, it's something I'm scared of. It's like, kill me of anything. Kill me of anything. Not give me ALS.
Yeah, don't give me ALS.
No, I do not want to see. I've lived a life of running around and climbing mountains and playing football and doing all this stuff, right? Archery and paddling and all, everything. I don't want to see the end of my life sitting in a chair. I would just say, kill me.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. I met Deanna. She lives in our area, her and her father. So I got to meet them a few times. And this was 2009 when I met her. And she's still, she should have, at the rate she was progressing, she should have been gone a long time ago. I hate
how old is she
that way, but she would probably be in her late 40s now. She was 34, I think, when she developed ALS, when she was diagnosed.
So she was like actually Lou Gehrig's, who was in, he was in his prime.
Exactly.
He got it. And just went from this. And look, this guy that played for the Saints on the year that they won the Super Bowl, this incredible athlete. He was part of what happened there. Can't think of his name right now. Steve something. Steve Gleason, I think it is. And he's still alive. He can't move a stitch. He sits in the chair with the thing on his head.
Steve Hawkins. I mean, he lived an awfully long time, but he was so incapacitated in most ways, sadly. I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah. The whole thing is just awful. And every time I see it, I always go, please let me go any other way.
Yeah.
Do not ever give me Lou Gehrig's. And
I'm going to die in my sleep.
I'm not afraid of death.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of, what can happen in life.
Yeah.
And, when I look at people, and this guy at the gym, this vibrant guy, he's in his early 70s.
Yeah.
He's vibrant and goes to the gym every day. Like every time I'm there, he's there.
Yeah.
He's a regular gym rat. And I cannot wait to get this information to him.
Yeah.
Larry, that's why I got to keep having you on every week, because we always go down these roads that just, we talked about mommies and breast milk, ALS.
Yeah.
On and on and on. So I'm not gonna belabor it, because I'm always, just so grateful that you come on the show. Let's tell people where to find the book.
Okay.
And look, folks, you want to go out and get this. You want to go get this book. It's going to be part of the Vinnie Book Club. So you can go to VinnieTortorich.com and it'll be right there. Just pull it, click on Amazon. It'll be in the Vinnie Book Club in Amazon. You'll be able to get it right away. Oh, wait, when is it coming out, Mary? It's not out, right? The book is. When is the book coming out?
Oh, September 19th, next week.
Oh, so it'll be out.
So you can order it now and you can get it next week.
But this podcast.
Oh, this is on everybody. Everybody has it, but my publisher is Turner Publishing, so you can get it from turnerbookstore.com. But you can also get it on Amazon, all the book websites. It's on all the book websites: Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Indie Books, and a whole bunch of other ones. And it's Alzheimer's disease. What if there was a cure? The story of ketones. The third edition. There's two others that are still on Amazon, so you want to get the third edition now. I think you'll get the complete story. And I have a whole chapter. It's like 40 pages long, but it's like the jumping board for my next book. And there's this whole issue of, but doesn't coconut oil increase your cholesterol? And
it what's wrong with people? What's wrong?
I know. And that's the biggest objection that I hear. But isn't it going to increase my cholesterol? And the answer is it could increase it, decrease it, or not change it. I mean, and that happens with any change that you have in your diet. There's going to be something's going to happen. But some of the studies showed that it decreased cholesterol. So I have written a whole book now about where the stupid dietary guidelines came from that said we should eat low fat and avoid saturated fat. I've spent a year now working on this one. Books take a long time, so this one was done like a year ago. But so now I'm working on one that I'm going to talk to my publisher about soon. But it's really trying to look at what was behind these low fat diet guidelines, and it's a big surprise. I mean, I kind of have been piecing it together. I feel like a detective, trying to figure all this out, and who these people were and how they got this through. And the story is incredible. So we can talk about that another time. Because it would take an hour to talk about.
I've done whole movies on that, but Mary, you have to come back again. It's always, welcome here. You have a platform. That's why I do this, because I just, like I said at the beginning, I get incensed. We have something like a CGM, which is an RPM gauge for your body.
Yeah.
And every insurance company should be handing these out like lollipops.
It should be. Doctors should all be prescribing them, and getting them for free for their patients. Because, I mean, if that doesn't convince you that you need to stop eating sugary foods and sugar-sweetened beverages and eat a healthier diet, more whole food, get away from all this ultra processed foods, nothing will, but you can, like you said, you can see it.
Look,
you can see it, and then you can't forget about it.
Yeah, you can't unsee it. As a matter of fact, I'm working right now. By the time this show comes out in about 3 weeks, it's coming out 3 weeks on a Friday. Folks, go check out my YouTube, because I'm going to have a whole thing I'm doing on sugar and why it's addictive. What makes, what causes you to be addicted to that one carbohydrate, and what happens to your brain and the reward sensory and the whole thing. I'm working on that right now. So when this comes out, that will also be out. So you can go check that out. Folks, don't forget, go find Mary's book. Mary, give them one more time where they're going to find it.
You can look on Amazon, all the major book websites, and even the little book websites, and Turner Publishing, which is turnerbookstore.com. And it's Alzheimer's disease. What if there was a cure? The story of ketones, third edition.
Yeah, go get that. Folks, you know what to do with me. Before you go to Amazon, which is where you're going to get Mary's book, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner, puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. I do the consults. Don't forget about the consults. You want to set up a consult and talk to me for an hour or half an hour, what have you. You can set that up. We have the Superfan page. And also for $10, you can learn everything you need to know for $10. There's no click funnel. There's nothing else to buy. Get the NSNG ebook. $10 will teach you everything you need to know about that. So there you have it. On behalf of Dr. Mary Newport, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.